everybody, welcome back to our channel. I am Lindsay. I am one half of the duo that is friends till the book ends. Danielle is still on vacation. She's enjoying herself, so I thought that I'd pop on and give you guys my August TBR. So July has been my roughest reading month of the year so far. I only read about 10 books, which I know is a lot for some people, but I don't do anything during the summers because I'm a teacher, so I should be reading more than that. I typically average around reading like 20, 21, 22 books a month. So the fact that I only read 10 this month was pretty bad. And I didn't really love any of them. So I'm hoping that my August TBR kind of turns it around. So the first couple books that I wanted to chat through are ones that have been on my TBR and I just have not gotten to them. So they are kind of like my pile of shame. So the first one is The Underground Railroad by Colson Whitehead. This is a historical fiction novel about the Underground Railroad as if it was an actual railroad. I know that it was just made into a TV show. I believe it's an Amazon Prime show. So I wanted to read the book and then watch the show. This is also a friend's copy, so I want to be able to give this back to them in the near future. So I'm hoping that this one finally gets read in August. Then next we have Never Seen by Shannon Messenger. And this is the fourth book in the Keeper of the Lost City series. I believe this is an 8-book series, possibly more. And it was actually optioned for a movie in January, so that's exciting. So hopefully that happens. But in it, we're following a girl named Sophie who lives in the human world, but then discovers one day accidentally that she is, I believe, an elf. And Fitz here comes to kind of take her from the human world to the elf world, where she discovers that not only is she an elf, but she is the most extraordinary elf because she has all of these weird powers and abilities that nobody else has. So this is kind of following Sophie and Fitz and her friends as they kind of figure out who's after Sophie, because someone is after her, of course. And it's just a really cute middle grade series. I don't read a ton of middle grade, but this one is really fun. It's really fast paced. It's chunky, but it goes by so fast. But I've been meaning to read this book for about 3 months now, so it needs to get done in August before I forget what happened in the previous books. It's kind of a joke at this point, but People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. I believe I got this in my May book of the month box as like an early add-on, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to read it early because Beach Read is one of my favorite books of all time. I just still haven't read it for one reason or another. I think I'm nervous that it's not going to live up to the hype of Beach Read. I'm afraid I'm not going to like it as much, so I've kind of been putting it off, but this is about being on vacation. August is the last summer month, really, so it's kind of do or die here. This is about Poppy and Alex, who used to be best friends, and they used to take vacations together. And so this is, I believe, a dual timeline. So you're following them in the past as well as the present, where they are no longer friends, but Poppy contacts Alex and is like, let's get together and do one last vacation and kind of see if they can repair their friendship. So I believe this is kind of like a friends to not friends to lovers story, so I'm interested to see how this goes. Something else that I've been meaning to read for a couple months now is Heartstopper Volume 3 by Alice Oseman. I really enjoyed this graphic novel series. In it, you're following Nick and Charlie, who are gay, or at least I believe Charlie's gay. Nick's not sure how he feels. And we're just basically following them as Nick is kind of figuring out his sexuality and Charlie being the only openly gay boy at their school. And it's just literally the cutest, warmest, fuzziest little graphic novel series. And I believe this one takes place in Paris, I think. So this sounds really cute. It's a fun, easy read, and I need to get to it. So August is the month of sequels for me because I also need to read Unravel the Dusk by Elizabeth Lim, which is the conclusion to the Spin the Dawn duology. I read the first book with Danielle for our little book club, and I ended up really liking the first book. So in it, we're following a girl named Maya, and her father is a tailor, and he is kind of older now, and he lost his 2 sons to the war, and his other son came back and I believe can't walk. So she kind of is solely picking up the family's business. And someone from the royal palace comes and says that her father has been selected to compete in this like elite tailoring competition because only men can be tailors. And if you win, you become the new tailor for the emperor's new princess, the new bride. So she goes in her father's place. So this has kind of been pitched as a Mulan meets Project Runway retelling kind of deal. And I do agree with that for an extent. The first part of the first book is exactly like that. The second part of the book is kind of like an epic journey that much more relies heavily on the Chinese mythology. So this is the conclusion to the duology. I need to read it because I read Spin the Dawn, I think 4 months ago at this point, and it's kind of, some of the details are escaping my mind. I loved the love interest in this, and I'm interested to kind of see how it wraps up. Crown of Midnight. I read Throne of Glass, I believe, in February, and I liked it. I didn't love it. I ended up giving it kind of a 3.5 star rating. So not bad, but definitely not my favorite series by Sarah J Maas, but I had already bought the second book in the series at the time. So I would like to read it to see kind of where it goes, because I've heard that you kind of got to get through the first book because the second book, the third book, and the fourth book are much better. And I've heard that the story takes a completely different route than what it originally starts as. So in this, we're following a girl named Selena, who is a kind of a criminal personality type. And so she gets selected to become a champion to compete in this like assassin competition, and whoever wins gets out of their prison sentence and gets to become essentially like the king's assassin. And she competes in it, and there's magic, there's romance. It's a good YA fantasy, but not my favorite. But I would like to continue to see if the second book picks up. So this might be kind of a deciding factor on whether or not I continue in the series as a whole. So the next series that I need to continue on with is Restless Slumber by KJ Sutton, and this is the second book in the Fortuna Sworn series. I finished this book last month, the first book in the series, which I ended up liking. I gave it kind of like a 3.75, 4 star. I thought that it was kind of short. This book is longer, so I'm hoping that that kind of alleviates some of the problems that I had with the first book. But in the first book, you're following a girl named Fortuna Sworn, who is the last of her kind. She's a nightmare, which means that she has the ability to kind of get inside people's minds, figure out their darkest fears, and use that against them. And if she's killed and her heart is removed, and whoever kills her uses the heart, they have no fears anymore. It like cures their fear. So she's become highly sought after. And in the beginning of this book, we find out that her brother Damon, who's also a nightmare, has gone missing a couple years ago, and she has basically spent since that time looking for him and trying to find him. And she gets a lead on him because of a fairy who shows up at her door and says that, you know, I'll give you the lead that I have on your brother if you marry me. So it's kind of like a forced marriage. You go back to the fairy world. It's much deeper than you originally think it is. I thought that the first book ended on an interesting kind of cliffhanger. It made me want to pick up the second book rather soon. So that's what I'll be doing this August. So next book that I'm planning to pick up is Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen. I love Jane Austen. Emma and Pride and Prejudice are two of my top favorite books of all time. I also really enjoyed Sense and Sensibility, but I have yet to read Northanger Abbey. And Emily from Emily Fox Reads, she has a book club that I'm a part of, a Patreon book club, and they're reading Northanger Abbey. So I was really excited. So I picked up a copy of it. It's really cute. It's much shorter than I thought it was. But I've heard this one is witty and lighthearted, typical Jane Austen, style of writing. I do not know what it's about, but I am going to be reading it this August. The next book that I plan to read in August is a buddy read with my friend Krista, and that is We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Faizal. First of all, this cover is literally stunning. But I have heard really good things about this book. I've even heard better things about the sequel, which I do already own. I own the sequel before I read the first book, which is a problem. So in it, we're following a girl named Saphira who disguises herself as a man in order to traverse the kind of forest around her city and feed her people. She's known as the Hunter. So I think she's kind of more of a legendary type figure. And also we're following Nasir, who is the Prince of Death. I believe he's an assassin, and he's also the son of the Sultan, and he's not allowed to show any emotion or sympathy. It is his job essentially to just do his father's bidding. So Saphira embarks on a quest to find this lost artifact that is supposed to be able to bring magic back to her land and save her people. At the same time, Nasir has been dispatched to kill the Hunter, find the artifact, and destroy it. So their paths are going to cross. Sounds like an enemies to lovers, which is right up my alley, and I'm really looking forward to this one. So next is a book that I was recommended to by a lovely bookseller in Barnes & Nobles when I was in there and I was kind of browsing the YA section, and she recommended this book to me. It's outside of my normal comfort zone, but I totally cover bought it, and I'm hoping that I like it. So that's going to be Mermaid Moon by Suzanne Kokol. I don't know how to say that. But this cover is beautiful. It has sprayed edges, and under the dust jacket is this like gorgeous turquoise blue book with the flowers on it. So I kind of bought it because I thought it was pretty. Also because I'm trying to read more books outside of my comfort zone. But this is a magical realist type book. So in it we're following I don't even know. Let me read you the synopsis. So, Sana is a mermaid, except her mother was landish, not thievish. The witch who delivered her cast a spell that made her people and her mother forget her birth. Sana longs to find her mother so much that she apprentices herself to the witch, learns the magic of making and unmaking, and fashions herself a pair of legs to go ashore on the 37 dark islands, the nearest anyone can remember to where they left her mother. There, Sana stumbles into a wall of white roses and a community desperate for a miracle, and into a baroness who would do anything to live forever. So, it sounds like it's this magical, it's got magic, it's got mermaids. It sounds like it's going to be definitely, sounds kind of fairy tale-esque, like a Little Mermaid-esque kind of thing. So I'm hoping that I enjoy it. So the last official book on my TBR is Xoxo by Xoxo. And this is a K-pop inspired love story, and if you didn't know, if you haven't heard me talk about it 800 times, I've been obsessed with K-dramas and K-pop since the beginning of the year. I feel like my eyes have been opened to a whole new genre of music, to a whole new genre of TV shows. They're just fantastic. They're so binge-worthy. So in it, we're following a girl named Jenny who's a trained cellist, and it is her dream to go to this like fancy, expensive, elite music school. And so she's been very straight-laced her entire life. And one night during the summer before she's going to start, she decides that she's going to go to her uncle's karaoke bar. And there she meets a boy named Jae-woon, and they kind of have a one-night stand romance thing. And that's it. They don't think they're ever going to hear from each other again until Jenny's grandmother in Korea gets ill. So Jenny goes to take care of her, deferring her acceptance to this music school for a semester. And while she's there, she enrolls in I guess a school there, and she finds that Jae-woon goes there, and not only does he go there, but he's actually a member of a very famous K-pop group, and they are notoriously not allowed to date or do anything really except K-pop. So they're kind of orbiting each other now in this social circle that they didn't think they'd ever have to again. But it sounds super cute. It sounds like a K-drama, honestly. So I have really high hopes for this one. That was kind of my official TBR for August. I mean, it's all subject to change because I've been in a reading slump. But I'm kind of hoping that these books will really pull me out of it. There's a lot of other things that I would like to read that I need to read. But I'm trying to kind of give myself options. But these are the ones that I really hope that I get to this month. Let me know what's in your August TBR. Are you kind of doing the more summer romance contemporary? Are you feeling like in a fantasy mood? So let me know down in the comments below what you're planning to read this August, and I will catch you guys in our next video. Bye!